Happy Friday, everyone. 6 weeks till Christmas. Yes, I went there. I said it. Today, we've got Terri Anne Welyki on. Real pleased to have her on because we get to pick her brain about a lot of different subjects. Maybe a little bit of silver, gold, definitely some lithium, definitely some copper. And I wanted to do this in part because I just saw yesterday, too, kind of under the backdrop of a Senate bill that just went through Arizona Senator Kristen Sinema and along with Senator Mike Lee. They introduced the Senate version of the Critical Mineral Consistency Act, which looks to add different critical materials, not just metals and minerals, but materials as defined by the Department of Defense. And that is going to streamline the permitting process for vital mining projects, but it specifically had a gearing towards Arizona. And because I know Arizona fairly well, because it does around energy, Robert had called me, told me this happened. This is big news for companies that are in Arizona. So like Resolute, also South 32, which is also kind of why we're talking to Terri Anne. And under that whole big intro, we're pleased to have you. How are things going, Terri Anne? It's great to see you.
They are going well. Thank you so much for having me.
It's a real pleasure.
Should be a fun conversation. There's a lot going on in the world right now.
There's so much happening. Let's just start with, we're in a weird kind of space right now. We're in a transition of a transition of a transition between an energy transition and a transition of power. There's lots of things happening. What's your kind of take right now moving into Christmas short term and then 2025?
I think 2025 is going to be very exciting. I think we'll all do very well. I think it's going to be a bit bumpy up until January, for sure.
Yes.
I think there's a lot of people that are uneasy. I think there's a lot of noise around, everybody being appointed in his government. And until that's kind of, implemented and he's off to the races, I think we're going to see a little bit of insecurity in people. I mean, I'm feeling bullish on the back of that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, I'm glad you brought that up because I've been on a couple calls lately, kind of focused on critical metals and whatnot, because there's a narrative around how Trump's going to be terrible for the environment and he's not going to do the transition. And pretty much every analyst, every person that I've talked to, never mind, it doesn't take much research to find that's not true, has reiterated the same thing. No, he created the critical metals list to begin with. They're going forward. Elon Musk is part of the team. Now, will some of the money get spent in some ways other than others? Yeah, likely. But this transition in some form or another, and application of money is going forward. What's your thoughts on that?
It's ridiculous because, the whole permitting of projects in North America are designed to protect the environment. The only reason why we have permitting is to protect the environment, to protect communities, to protect on every level, whether it be noise, whether it be pollution, whether it be dust, even like water. All of these mechanisms are in place already. All mining companies or energy companies abide by these processes, and speeding them up doesn't mean that we're dismantling them. It just means they're going to make them more fluid and a little bit more timely, but all the regulation is already in place to do so. And mining companies or all companies, none of us want to harm anything. We live on the planet. We don't want to destroy it. We just want to make it better. And we're going to need metals to make a better world, to move it forward. Everybody wants the energy transition. How are you going to do that without copper, silver?
Yes. Right?
It's not possible.
And just to give things into perspective, I kind of mentioned to people, between discovery to, say, permitting a mine and it actually starting to produce, it's like 17 years. So people go, oh, okay, wait, that's a time frame I wasn't expecting. It's like, if we could get to 3 to 4, maybe 5, that's probably, maybe even faster, that's probably realistic, like what you'd need if there's any dream of doing any kind of transition, to be realistic about it?
Well, I think so. I mean, it's you have to go through many seasons to get, the information you need, the baseline studies. And really, once those studies are in place and available for everybody to review, like that's all we really need is a few, cycles of seasonal cycles. The data will reveal itself. And if it's, a green light, then go.
Yes. Now, let's just take a step back here, a big giant step, because a lot of people watching will know exactly who you are. But in case someone's new and they just stumbled upon, kind of give someone a bit of a background, because you've worn many different hats in this mining sector. So you're intimately aware of permitting, and you're also you actually had a mill at one point, so you understand operations. So kind of maybe give everyone a little bit of a rundown as to all the different hats you've worn, of the firm understanding of how this whole sector works.
Yeah, I'd love to. So I've been doing this for about 20 years. Started my career in technology in Ottawa, and then that bubble burst, and I was like, okay, what are we going to do now? Moved to Vancouver. Vancouver was all mining. So I, working with publicly traded technology companies, I'm like, how different can it be? Mining technology, it's fine. So I dove right in. The learning curve was a little bit more than I expected,
Yeah.
but I went about my learning process pretty aggressively. I started with a company called I actually started a company called Calico Resources with one of the investors that I met in the business. And we picked up a property in Eastern Oregon, and people were like, you can't permit in Eastern Oregon. That's never going to happen. But we had this great little project called Grassy Mountain. And sure enough, didn't take us long to get our drill permits and grow that resource. And then I kind of got a little sour taste in my mouth watching junior mining companies and how they operated. And I was like, you know what? I want to go private. I'm gonna have this great idea, and I'm gonna build a toll mill with some partners in Peru. And I had to learn how to finance a company, and from an idea. And I could assure you that I was laughed out of many boardrooms. People were saying, you just have an idea. It's a good idea, but you've got nothing. And I was like, I've got this great team of guys and ladies that can, actually develop this. And, it took me a few years, but we ended up, financing with probably some of the savviest mining investors on the planet, really. And we built the mill. We started pouring doré. So we bought a piece of land. We permitted it. And let me tell you, the learning curve there was exceptional. So you're permitting in a foreign country. The language is, challenging if you don't know it inside and out. The culture is different. Everything about that was, you had to get cyanide permits, you had to get construction permits. You had to get, really good people on the ground. And, once you're pouring doré, like your, security is an issue.
Yes.
All of these things that you have to learn along the way. And there was, I'd love a redo on it, because there's so many lessons you learn along the way that if you can implement it down the road, do it one more time, you would do it so much better and smarter. And we ended up selling that asset. But the irony of all of that was, it was a company called Anthem United who rolled the dice on us, financed the company. And it's in fact, that mill is, if you want to like dial it right back, was the genesis for Equinox Gold. So Greg Smith was the CEO of Anthem United, and him and Dan O'Flaherty, two incredible people in the business. Their minds are they're so effective at what they do. And then we ended up selling the asset to another company, and they went on to, do three-way merger after three-way merger. And Equinox Gold is now today. So, and then from there, worked for several different juniors and landed with Barksdale. I tend to fall in love with assets.
Yes.
So the sunny side
Yeah.
has my heart, and yeah. So
Well, this is important because we always talk about like you have to have the project, the team, the money, and the project. There's certain things you can't get around. You can have like we even ask different people. Arguably, you could have less of an asset to some degree if you got an exceptional management team and money. But those are nuances. What your kind of take, coming from like learning as you go, which is different than just picking up a book and going, hey, let me just open up geology and parse through it. Actually try like building as you go. That's extremely difficult, but it's the fastest way you're going to learn because it's like your feet are over the fire.
Well, and failure are the best lessons, right? Yeah. I'm saying like I didn't fall on my face all the time, but you learn so much when you have hiccups. When you have hiccups along the way and you understand why the hiccup happened, you implement that moving forward. And so I'm so grateful for all my lessons. And it's why, I've made some money along the way.
Yes. And I would argue that people are a little bit more apt to point out, like your feet will have held to the fire faster and harder, I think, in mining. It's not quite the cuddles and hugs and unicorns that say tech would be.
No. And you know what's funny is it used to be, the saying used to be, you're only as good as your last deal.
Yeah.
That's changed. Because now the saying is you're only as good as your current deal.
When you're in, yes.
When you're in now, they don't want to hear about your successes of the past.
Yeah.
They just want to hear about what's happening right now. And, it's aggressive out there, and as it should be, there's a lot of mining companies out there. There's a lot of junior mining companies out there, and you have to like dig to find like the gems.
Yes.
That's not easy. Like when you're investing, like it's tricky, and we have the benefit of, it's a concentrated, they're either concentrated in Vancouver or they're concentrated in Toronto. And if you get to spend time in those communities, you have your ear to the ground. So we have the benefit more so than most people. I mean, even though I'm not in Vancouver right now, my network is. So, yeah.
Well, that's a benefit too, because you can be anywhere now because you've put 20 years into it. Like you've made all the connections, you've talked to everybody. They're going to pick up the phone. That's a lot of the business. So, kind of give us, without giving too much of the secrets of the world away, what do you look for then? Because you say you fall in love with projects. There's a big hint, but tell us like your kind of process when you're looking at something and you go, yeah, you know what, I'm interested in Barksdale. Like how does that process look?
When I first was introduced to Barksdale, he had me at the project. Like the writing was on the wall for me. It was incredible. When you have the likes of Peter McGaw, who studied this project for decades, saying that he loves it, it's kind of a no-brainer. But in particular, when I started writing checks into Barksdale, it was because I love the project, but I was following the money.
Yeah.
I was literally looking at the shareholder roster going, I'm investing with Teck, I'm investing with Crestcat, I'm investing with Osisko Gold Royalties, I'm investing with US Global. All of these investors are extremely savvy when it comes to assets and how these things get to move forward. Now, you have to have a little bit of patience, but I'm writing a check with guys who have made a lot of money in the business. They know what they're doing. And that gives me the confidence to keep writing checks because they keep writing checks.
Yes.
So not only do you have the technical guys saying this project is incredible, you've got very, very savvy, strategic money piling into the deal saying, yeah, he's right.
So just so for people that are, say, brand new, they go, well, how come the stock doesn't just keep going straight up then? And because someone comes in and goes, well, okay, I don't understand. Like what, like they don't realize that it's R&D. You have to drill a lot of holes. It's expensive.
Well, and
Never mind the permitting as well. But so if someone comes new and they say, okay, I don't understand that. Why is it taking so long, and why this? So just kind of walk through people as if they didn't know what they would have to kind of have in their head then.
So to your point earlier, when you were saying, new regulations coming into play, which, is a dream for us.
Yeah.
Depending on where you're sitting on the planet, you have, especially in the US, you have, BLM, you have patented mining claims, which are private land. And then you have Forest Service where, Barksdale happens to be. You have to do a full EA. Like these things are time consuming, and they cost a lot of money. And the other thing is, we had, the COVID deal. Under Trump, we had the government shut down. So these things just prolonged everything.
Yeah.
And so it was painful. However, now that permit is in place, it's extremely valuable because our neighbor, South 32, who has a world-class asset that they're moving forward, they bought that for $2.1 billion at a PEA stage level. They know this thing's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. They have one spoke. Like if you look at CRD systems, there's the hub, which is the porphyry.
Yeah.
And then there's various spokes around that hub. Well, South 32 has one spoke. Barksdale has the porphyry, which is the hub. And so there should be, according to experts, many other spokes around there. So the reason why the permit's so valuable, one, it takes a lot of time. Two, South 32 drilled that beautiful, it was Arizona Mining originally, but they drilled just off patented mining claims, which speeds up their process. Took us a long time, took us 5 years. However, now that it's in play, it's extremely beneficial to both parties because it would be useful to both parties. But then these, to your point, as in timelines, these holes are very deep to drill. Yep. So it takes time, it takes a lot of money, and it takes a lot of patience. But when you look at, I just go back to the shareholder roster. I'm looking at who's investing. I'm looking at their timelines. They are patient.
Yes.
They are, they know what can be on the other side. And they keep believing in the story. And they do that with, keeping us well-financed.
I want to bring up too that, is it a week ago or say 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago, you did a great video with Dr. McGaw where you talk about these spokes. And, I'm not a PhD geo. Most people aren't, but I could follow it. I mean, I'm like, oh, I get this. And the imagery and just kind of the walkthrough. And it was very nice to see Dr. McGaw walk it through for a retail ear to understand, oh, okay, I see. Because you've got the one picture where it's like you're 100 meters away from the entrance. Like you're literally, when people say you're near to or closeology, it's like you're on top of it. You're literally adjacent to it. And that does matter, because it's, you hear the closeology often, but this is, you're literally at the opening of the mine.
I stole one of Gwen Preston's. I don't know if you're familiar with Gwen.
Oh, yeah.
But I met Gwen years ago, and we were chatting Barksdale, and I was like, well, it's a closology play. And she's like, oh, Terri Anne, it's depositology. This one is depositology. And so I did thieve that that phrase that she coined. But it's the same location. It's the same, it's the same deposit. And there should be many more around that porphyry. And that Peak prospect that South 32 did an incredible job discovering is looking like, could be another spoke to the wheel, which is extremely exciting, because that just means it would drive back to that Sunnyside porphyry. So,
and what makes you also interesting, if I get this right, tell me if I'm wrong, if I remember going through earlier, is that it's not only just that you've got the Taylor deposit, you got South 32, and it is coming. Is it next year coming into production, or 2020, 25?
They no, they're going to
No.
be. They're calling 2027.
27.
Yeah.
And then of course, and under this new regulation that was pushed through yesterday, which is just wild. It's going to heat things up. The neighbors that you have as well aren't small. That would, this make you go, oh, it makes sense. South 32 would buy. You go, well, hold on, slow down. You've got other interesting neighbors that make the that topic a little bit more heated conversation.
Well, yes, and what I love about the new regs that are coming, it helps us a lot on that front. Just because the district is, it is for service. But if the feds really want to make Arizona shine, and these massive deposits, are discovered and built out, like it's an exciting time. I mean, we have all the metals that they are looking for, zinc, copper, silver. All of these things are crucial to the energy transition, and necessary for, the military is looking at, beefing up their supply.
Yes. And Arizona's got a lot going on. Republicans just won, but I think they still have a Democrat in there to some degree. But that, once again, if these regulations are totally set in stone, the world changes very quickly for them. Like you've got Taiwanese semiconductor. They're building their mega plant down there. They require a lot of metal. They require a lot of coolant for making things. So it's to see what's happening in Arizona is pretty wild. And there's a firm understanding, just because I speak to enough people in Arizona who are constantly talking to Senate or in congressional hearings, that both sides of the table, whether it was like directly from the Biden administration saying, we understand that we need to get this stuff going. We understand that. And certainly on the Republican.
And that's why, it was exciting when South 32 got the Fast 41 and funding from the U.S. military. It's and that was done, under Biden. So it's the writing's on the wall. So not only are these metals crucial for the energy transition, think about the communities that we work in. The economy is going to thrive.
Yes.
Families are going to do a lot better. Children will be a lot happier by default because, parents are less stressed.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's so many benefits to moving these projects forward, not just in terms of, the energy transition, but like if you move it all down, this is really good for the people.
Yes. I mean, also just like talking about the environment too, is that a lot of these projects, they are implementing things like, well, we're going to use a solar power with a battery to get this going rather than like diesel fuel. Like there's companies that are forward thinking saying, we're in Arizona, we've got sun, we can use solar. It can work here.
You need silver for solar.
Sorry.
You need silver for solar.
You need tons of it. And people, go ahead.
Well, and I was just saying, all of these mine sites are so much safer than they ever were in North America. Like South 32's, according to Peter McGaugh, like a lot of these guys are going to be using robots underground, and the people are going to be sitting in office with like joysticks operating these. So not only has technology advanced under safety and environmental, like there's so many, like the industry has evolved. It's not just a pick and a shovel and cyanide, and like, but people have this idea that mining is so bad, but it's evolved drastically over the years. Just like technology, 20 years ago, we didn't have these. We had cell phone or flip phones.
Flip phone,
right? It's advanced, like everything has advanced, including mining.
I think because people would make fun that mining would be so slow to change, and I think there's reasons for it. It has, in the last few years, especially since I've really gotten excited about it, you just see a launch forward, and it is between autonomous vehicles, electric vehicles, all electric mines that they're trying to fully put together. This is a commitment, and it's not because they're begrudgingly doing it. They're interested. They're like, hey, can we do this? Can we be like net carbon neutral at this mine site? And that's exceptionally difficult to overcome and to do, but that's a conversation that they all are interested in trying to have and see, listen, if we can't be entirely, we can at least cut this, and this. And that is a huge, exciting kind of prospect for them to shine. Like, we get a chance here to let the world know that it isn't this image of the Congo, which everyone wants to go to, and you go, that's what mining is. Like, no, that's not. That's artisanal mining in a warlord state. That's not what mining is. You can look at a fully autonomous mine that's using electric fuels, all this. That's the future of what we're really talking about.
And in North America, we have the cleanest way to extract our resources because the regulations are in place to protect. We've got the cleanest oil and gas in Canada and in the US. We've got the cleanest way to, extract metals from our grounds. And, we should be proud of that. Like, we should wear that with a badge of honor.
Yes.
The US and Canada has done an exceptional job at all of this stuff. Like, we should be so proud extracting our natural resources. Like,
yes.
We need to change that mentality.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because there's been more oil and gas production under Biden, but still, whether it's Trump, Biden, each year, the emissions are dropping. So the West is dropping emissions. Like, it's not that they're going up. They are dropping. They're doing an excellent job. It's that people kind of understand that what happens in China affects us. Like, if they choose not to use regulations, you can't just bury your head in the sand and go, it doesn't affect me. It does affect you. It affects the air quality, affects emissions, affects all of that matters. So my argument, I think it's coming to fruition, whether it's with tariffs, and you're going to see stronger tariffs and dependence on logistics for the West. It's going to require having projects, having a steady stream of critical metals for the U.S., for all its partners, to say, we're going to build out all of these things. And I kind of like to remind people, Elon Musk has Trump's ear. So, like, when they think that this isn't going to move forward, you don't think that there's going to be, like, Elon Musk doesn't still want to do all the robots, all the AI, all that. That's happening. It's going to happen.
He's a machine. And like, to your point, like, the EU has mandated that 30% of all their critical metals be self-sourced. So when you look at themes like that, you got to sit there and go, okay, what mining projects have critical metals in the EU that need to come out of the ground, that the EU is mandating to come out of the ground? And so I did, that was one of the bets I placed. A company called European Energy Metals. Actually, they just changed their name to Grit Metals. They have projects in another this one's a closology play. It's not a depositology, but it's a closology play. In Finland, they have incredible lithium assets. A guy at the helm of their VPX has a track record of discovery in Finland. I mean, this story has so many incredible components. You've got a guy that's made several discoveries in Finland. He's a machine on the ground. You've got, it's a metal that the EU is mandating, 30% be self-sourced. What other country is so far in advance? The neighbor is almost done building their mine and mill, refinery. It's a one-stop shopping district from exploration, mining, and refining. The refinery is right on the Baltic, so bypasses China. Like, most of the lithium in the world is being refined in China. Yeah. This bypasses this whole. Finland is doing an incredible job. So I took a pretty large chunk of that company because, for many reasons, there's so many components of that story that make perfect sense. Sibanye-Stillwater is going to be mining in 2025, which is around the corner, and they're going to need more ore. And Grit Metals has incredibly prospective ground. They've had lithium, high grade lithium hits, and it won't take a lot of money to develop these resources because it's all shallow. Lithium's at surface. So I'm loving this story. Not to mention they have incredible gold assets to the north where their VPX worked in the past. So, to your point, the EU's mandating that these projects absolutely move forward. Finland, the government of Finland invested in that property with Sibanye-Stillwater. Like, they want these things going.
Yeah, whenever because it is similar to the Barksdale story, because you've got a mine that's coming to production, great asset. It's taken them a while to get there. The narrative is like, we need critical metals. And you go, well, where are they going to get lithium from? It's a cheaper story, and it isn't dependent on technology like a DLE, where you hear like, oh, what's the technology in DLE? Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. But the tried and true and like easiest, cheapest way is the spodumene, which you guys have. Yep. And it's literally right in between all these deposits that the caliber that for Stillwater's that they have.
And what attracted me to it, it's like, listen, there's lithium all over the place. Lithium's not in favor. Well, that's when you buy it.
Yeah.
Like, that's when you buy stock, is when something's not in favor, not when it's flavor of the month. But you have lithium all over the place. Okay, great. There's some amazing deposits in Canada. But where are you shipping it to be refined?
Yeah.
What are the costs associated to getting that out of the ground, shipping it to China to get it refined? Because that's really the only place
that's
doing it.
Yeah.
Whereas, it's literally the refinery from Grit's properties is like a stone's throw.
Yeah.
Literally a stone's throw.
It's right there. Yeah. Like, you just ship the ore in and refine it, and it's like, boom, there we go.
So that's why Sibanye-Stillwater is no doubt going to be very successful, because they've closed the loop on everything. I mean,
it's right. It's very vertically integrated. It's boom. It's right there, and it can feed into whatever, Volvo to Volkswagen, whoever needs it, who's building batteries in Europe. It's shippable.
And I'm not poo-pooing on, North American lithium stories.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, this just removes one big headache from the whole chain.
The Chinese domination, almost, because even there was a U.S. official who just came out openly, I'd say a month ago. It was about a month ago, and he said, no, China is purposely tanking the lithium market because they're very well aware that they produce that all of these assets and these critical metals. And as the U.S. announces, listen, we're going to build a supply chain, they're upset. They don't like it, obviously, because it's taken this long for the West to realize, ooh, wait, handing over everything to a foreign adversary is maybe not a great idea.
Security of supply is a big deal for everyone.
Yeah.
And you know what? So when I look at things I invest in, I look at it from various lenses, and Finn's a great story of, the EU wanting this stuff. It's a great story of, not having to go through China to get the refining done. And then, the Baltic's right there. It just feeds into the all of EU, like easy peasy.
And it's silly too when you really break it down. I know a lot of people don't, because it's kind of very nuanced and it wouldn't be a first thought. But the old model of, say, okay, we've got a lithium deposit, great. Now we're going to put this on a giant ship to send it to China. That ship is using bunker fuel. So that's burning ridiculous amounts of emissions, the highest of all. It's then going to refine it and send the lithium back to whoever is making a battery. Maybe it's being made in China, maybe not. But that's insane. Like, what is going on here?
It's insanity. And that's why, I look at, people like, oh, again, flavor of the month, right? People jump into these stocks.
Yeah.
And it's like when they're doing this, people get FOMO and they want to literally they want to dive into something that's trying to, where I'm looking at them lithium's not my favorite metal just because it's really hard because of that whole China thing. When I looked at it, I was like, well, it's not in favor. I can buy it cheap and it's advancing.
Yes.
Neighbors advancing. And it's a one-stop shop in district. I'm in.
Yeah. And I also like to point out too, if you're, and you're
I'm not a
producing.
trader. I don't trade. I'm an
no, I don't trade as well. And that's also important to mention.
I just keep gobbling up stock, right?
And that's the way to do it, is to accumulate and sit into something. And if they're doing what they're supposed to be, reward them, because there is that cycle within a cycle. People go, oh, I'm all into uranium, and that does well, and they flip out. They're like, I'm all into gold and silver, and now it's pulled back, and people are like, oh, it's done. It's like, it's not. It's not done. But
they're good projects, good teams. Hang on.
Yes, yeah. And the longer you can hang on and have some conviction, you're going to be rewarded. It's just time. Now, I know people hate to hear patience, and I won't ever say be patient, but
this is mining, man.
It's mining.
This is not oil and gas. It's mining.
Yes. And you have to see these, I think when you see a chart and you go look and you go, say, for example, just with lithium and with Finland, you go, where are they going to, where is their mill? So where are they processing? Oh, it's up there in Finland. Oh, interesting. The project's going to be producing soon. So right now, yes, you value this company and you go, well, lithium's not, it's low, it's worth XYZ. It's not producing yet. So it's not actually worth that. When it all said and done, it's going to be probably worth a lot more. Lithium is going to rise. It's not done. We're not using batteries. Let's just that's going to happen. So I think sometimes people get pulled, especially in an exploration story. They think, oh, it's not worth as much. It's in the ground, and lithium's or gold is at this level. You go, you're not producing anyway. You should actually now be buying more of it if the stock pulls back and you've got a good exploration story that is developing, because you're in it for the longer term. You should be.
Yeah, and the guys on the ground there, look at the track record. Have they made discoveries before? Yeah, they have. It's not a brand new team who hasn't worked in the district, right? It's a team that has made discoveries. They've made discoveries in Finland. They know how to operate within Finland. So everything's faster. Actually, the regs in Finland, exceptional, very well defined.
Yes. And they are true partners. The government is a partner in it. They want it to succeed. And that is a big critical element we're missing in a lot of North America, that hopefully, once again, is coming together. It seems to be. We're in the right pathway, that's for sure.
Well, I'd like to see Canada really kind of change its mentality around there. Oof, it is.
We have the opportunity of being arguably one of the most, if not the most important countries for the actual transition, and people don't realize it.
Weird. Our liberal government actually hate our resource sector. It is bizarre.
Yes.
It's the cleanest, the best in the world, really. Bizarre.
Our emissions are negligible. We're not even statistically relevant.
How many
and I know that's just, people get upset when I say that, but it's true. I'm a numbers guy, and it's just a fact. Of course, go ahead.
Did people forget that, everything dies without emission, without, you know what I mean? Trees can't breathe and grow without it. So I don't understand the disconnect.
Yes. There is a sadly, and I think people are waking up to it, is that there's a lot, people are starting to realize both sides have a lot more in common than they think, and that the narratives and the stories being told maybe aren't entirely true. But it's
a symbiotic. Nature has a symbiotic relationship with humans.
Yeah.
We produce CO2. Nature gobbles it up.
Yeah.
Nature grows. I don't understand how that doesn't compute. It's a symbiotic relationship that humans produce emissions. Nature gobbles it up. It's a beautiful marriage of how the planet thrives.
Yeah.
It's not how the planet dies.
No.
It's how the planet thrives.
Yes. And we have an opportunity here to show that we can do this properly. And I think, especially in the next 4 years, if we can get the right people here in Canada that are open to business, that want Canada to prosper, if we have the right team at the top level, there is an opportunity for Canada, and especially, of course, we want this. We're in the mining sector, to literally, like I said, be a world leader and to really showcase that. All right, all you mining people, let's see you shine. Let's see if you can do these projects and do them with precision. Do them, within these standards, these set standards that we really want you to meet. I think it'll be done. I think there's the teams. There's a lot of smart people, and they're all working towards this goal. But they're doing it behind the scenes, and often at the same time being told that they should be hated. And it's like
we should be
they don't understand. Yeah,
loud and proud.
Yes, that's what we need more of as well. And also we need more of is because these stories can be technical. Like even people who've got a little bit of knowledge, say it's someone like me, and you go, I just want to see the biggest numbers of copper. I want to see a 4%, a 3, a 6% copper. I just want to see the biggest number, because you think, okay, that's what I need. I need an economic big number, some width. You go, well, yes, that's easy. That's like a very basic understanding, but there's nuance to it as well. And so I go back to that last interview you did with Dr. McGaw was great, because it takes away some of the scare or like, what are you talking about with these deposits? And you need to understand the type of geology that you're dealing with, what it suggests, what it's leading towards. And often we have to rely on expertise. So someone who's done it lots before, like a Dr. McGaw, to understand when they say, yes, these results, say like you put out results yesterday, these are good. These are encouraging. These are showing us that we've got what we think we have. And sometimes people look at it and they just look at the number and go, nope, I'm not interested. Move on. You go, no, read it, look at it again, and ask some questions.
Well, and to that point, like if you are kind of green on the mining side, right? Like there's a lot to learn, and it can be very technical. Invest in royalty companies. I mean, I made my biggest win off a royalty company. And for people who are listening to don't understand royalties, it's basically they buy a percentage of the ore that's in the ground, or the potential ore that could be in the ground at a certain price, right? Royalties are rare to come by, and they're expensive to get. But if you can do it properly, I mean, I invested in a company called Nova Royalty, which is now they amalgamated with Metalla.
Yes, yeah.
I invested when it was a private deal very early. I loved the concept of a base metals royalty company, because you only really hear of precious metals royalty company. It's like, so many out there, Empress being one of them that's up and coming.
Yeah.
But I invested in Nova. It was private for a while, went public. I made a great deal of money investing early.
Yeah.
But then, you look at companies like prospect generators like Latin Metals. Keith Henderson at the helm of that company, I've followed him for a long time. And when that man says he's going to do something, he delivers. And what I like about that is he's growing a royalty company organically by acquiring properties, advancing them through permitting, getting partners involved to deploy the capital to build out those resources, and then retaining a royalty on the back of it. I mean, brilliant strategy, again, if you can do it well, right? I think he's doing it well. He's brought in some incredible partners as of late on some incredible projects in Argentina, and I'm super bullish on Argentina right now.
Yes.
And so, you look at guys like that who do what they say they're going to do, and who are building something extremely meaningful. And if you have patience, I mean, I placed my bets on Latin Metals a couple, maybe a year and a half ago. And then I recently just bought a little bit more paper because I really like what they're doing. And, full transparency, I'm an advisor on that one. But
Congratulations.
yeah, thanks. It was, I was honored. But yeah, he's basically, when a traditional royalty company, you have to deploy millions of dollars to acquire a royalty. He's kind of doing it the reverse way, where he's basically creating the royalties by acquiring these properties, and then preserving the company's capital by using partners to advance the project. So brilliant strategy. If you have patience, I'm long on this one. So it's and it's a different way of investing, right?
Yeah.
It's more longer term, but if they grow, like they say they're going to grow and become, being able to sustain themselves through royalties and grow from that. Look at the incredible royalty companies out there who have made people a ton of money.
Yes.
I mean, they generally pay dividends over, time. I like the royalty model as well.
And it's great for someone new, like you said, because you're allowing a lot of expertise. If you're like, I don't want to have to understand how to pick a project, how it's good. And if you're new, you go, okay, listen, I can kind of look at a team that has some expertise, has done this before, and go, okay, this is my baby steps into the market to deploy some money while I'm learning. And you get to kind of grow with your knowledge.
Yeah. And another point, like, look at Latin Metal's investor base. They're almost 50% of the shares are held by management. What does that tell you?
Yes.
They've got skin in the game, right?
Absolutely.
Like, when I join a company like Barksdale Resources, I'm not going to tell you to buy stock if I'm not buying it myself, right? I will write a check into every financing and I will exercise my options when I can. And if a CEO or any part of the management company is telling you to buy a stock and they're not buying it themselves, that's a red flag to me.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Red flag. So look at the cap tables, look at insider buying. It'll tell a lot.
That's a huge, because I always ask people to tell some secrets, and go into CDAR, look at inside buying. That's a big secret. You're seeing if they're buying, are they selling, what are they up to? That can be not every case, because sometimes, like, if a stock goes through the roof, like, you have to expect that some management goes, I got to take a little bit off the table. But that's a very unique situation.
We're long, and we've put a lot of money in the deal to advance the projects, right?
Yes.
So.
Yes. And like, to go back to Argentina, because I love Argentina and I've liked Argentina for lots of different reasons, but especially when you see like a turnaround, like what a story. And here, this kind of bolsters what you were saying before about lithium, is the Rio Tinto Arcadium deal. I mean, Rio Tinto, like, they aren't a lithium company. Why the hell would they be interested in lithium if lithium's dead, if no one cares about lithium anymore? Yeah. And in Argentina. And, then you have, I was on the border of Chile and Argentina, the Philo deal with BHP. So all of a sudden people are like, oh, and Argentina is a nuclear nation, which is great. They've got lots of great uranium assets. Like, it just shows that when a country says, hey, we get it. We understand that we could be a powerhouse in this energy transition. How do we utilize this? You can attract money very quickly. And
my gosh, their government today is so inspiring.
Yes.
So inspiring. I'm loving seeing the memes of how Elon and Vivek are going to
the Doge
streamline processes, and they're using Mele with his afuera. It's fantastic. I just love it. But he's streamlining things. He started streamlining things in Argentina.
Yes.
Immediately when he came in, and it is like, it's changing very, very quickly. Like, and money's coming back to Argentina in a big, big way.
In a hurry. Yes. It's that country is such a sharp turnaround. It's it's startling. It's kind of like Ecuador, or sorry, El Salvador, Bukele.
Naib.
Yes, yeah,
I love
yeah. Incredible turnaround stories when you see that when you have a will to make a change and to do the right thing, it's incredible. And once again, I only kind of talk about this because whatever side of the aisle you're on doesn't matter. Everyone knows that we're going through an energy transition, and it doesn't matter right or left, and people are fine with it, despite all the noise and the bickering back and forth. It's going to happen, and it's just going to be how it looks. And we have a chance in Canada if we could just convince everyone. And given we need a better economy, so that's another conversation. For people to say, I want to invest in this. And it doesn't mean that I just want to, march in the streets.
In order for Canada to have a better economy, where do you think that's coming from?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The massive amount of jobs that our sector will create. And these are good paying jobs. And the ripple effect of those jobs inside the communities will help the economy skyrocket.
It's huge.
We're the foundation of the economy. I don't understand how Canadians don't understand that.
It truly is. I mean, the infrastructure that they bring to communities. I mean, if you take a look at even just say, was it Patriot Metals? Is it Patriot Battery Metals? There's talk of creating this entire kind of lane for lithium and whatnot. You go, okay, that's awesome. I hope so. And maybe if they get a mill as well, that once again, it amplifies the story. The cost and the construction, the jobs, that is enormous. And that's great. That's like a money that, and I don't love when government puts money in. I'd rather be business. But if government invested the people's money into that, which means we're really investing in our own people to build things, to create jobs, to go, hey, listen, maybe I can start a small business that focuses on building roads up north. Yeah, why not? Like, maybe I can do this.
They invested, $8 million in a cricket factory?
Oh, yeah.
Right? If you took that $8 million and just deployed it into a junior mining asset, like a real one, like a good,
real one, yeah.
It would, the ripple effect of that would be truly meaningful. Whereas this cricket factory that they just did, where's that going? It's going to be shutting its doors down in about 5 minutes. Like, they light up money on fire, whereas if they deploy capital into the resource sector, it will sustain itself.
Yes. And we do need capital. We need jobs as well. I'm actually going to have a fellow on who focuses on sourcing jobs in the mining sector specifically. And I thought that would be an interesting conversation because we need, if you're young and you want to get into the energy transition, it's you can pick your job. Like if you go get a degree in mining engineering or
geology.
Geology, or even just electric. If you want to go get your red seal in being an electrician, you're going to be in massive high demand. And these are the stories that people need to connect and go, oh yeah, that's what mining means. That all of that, and that's a huge plus to the economy.
Like, think about if you were to remove anything derived by our resource sector out of your house, what would you be left with?
Yeah, there's nothing. The food, basically you have some food, but that comes from the ground still. So you have to get it out of the ground.
And don't you need fertilizer for that?
You still need fertilizer to grow the food. Yeah. So
where's the fertilizer coming from?
Yeah, your potash, your phosphate, your nitrogen, all of that has to come out of the ground.
I mean, mining is life. Mining is life.
It really is. Yeah. And we have a chance if we just have, once again, more of yourself explaining people what the opportunity is and higher ups and higher levels, that people realize it's not just that there's an economic asymmetric gain that's possible and you can make serious money in mining. It's that you're doing the right thing. And even if it was government money, if they said we'll get 20 million into each junior or whatever, that could come with strings saying you have to adhere to an environment that we already do it anyway. But if people don't know, that's an easy like thing to fix. That you have to have certain regulations. Yeah, okay, no problem. It wouldn't be hard to do.
And every sector uses mining. Like
Yes.
if you want to talk about the medical sector, or the pharmaceutical sector, what do you think is going into these products?
We had zinc. What do you, yeah. Yeah.
These products are made from what comes out of the, like, a lot of these products are made with what's coming out of the ground.
Yes.
And they don't, another thing, I've talked about this story a lot, but I was out on Terri Resources website years ago, because they're one of our largest investors, and I was snooping around, and they have this page on their website, and it literally will melt your heart, because they're a big zinc producer. And so when you start to figure out like what zinc is used for, it's not only industrial, but it's for health, and they're saving babies all over Africa.
Yes.
By giving them zinc tablets, because it's preventing them the dehydration that they suffer when they have diarrhea. But there's this beautiful page on, and we don't champion these wonderful companies for doing these incredible things. With a simple, you can save a life with a simple tablet, zinc mineral.
Yeah.
I mean, mining companies go above and beyond, not only to protect the environment, but to help save lives and create good economies. So we don't talk about these things. We don't talk about the amazing things a lot of companies are doing in the community and around the world. It's mind-blowing.
It is. I mean, I always joke that the milk lobby in Canada has more power than any mining lobby, and that is bizarre because we are crucial and critical to everything, whether one likes to admit it or not. I mean, and I like someone doesn't know, and their head kind of spins around. They go, "Wait a second, wait, what are you saying?" Like my favorite being, say, with silver in solar panels, and I've met with solar companies before. At events, and I'll say, "Oh, you must love mining," like while they're in a group of people, and they'll just look at me because they know they need the silver. They'll be alarmed, like, "Don't even mention that." I'm like, "Listen, you have to. Let's talk reality. If you like solar, you love silver, which means you love mining. There's no way around it."
No, and when we're dealing with, we have to be mindful on the ground, right? But we're dealing with people that really will challenge us. Environmentalists will come over and challenge what we're doing.
Yep.
But they show up with their cell phone, they show up in their car.
Yeah.
And it really confuses me that they just don't put the connection together.
Yeah. I mean, often they're gaslit and they don't know any better. And sometimes it's not even about the environment. They just don't want any technology. They don't want growth, but at the same time, they're using it. So there's a very mixed message from all that narrative. I've talked to so many, but it is interesting that there's a disconnect between the reality and also people aren't spending the amount of money, say, like even a Bitcoin has. I mean, there's or some other lobby group that you could constantly be championing the position. And although there are enough billionaires that they could. It's unfortunate because it takes some education, and I think it's coming because even with the regime we have here in Canada now, they understand critical metals. They know that we need it. I think they painted themselves into a corner, but with a new narrative, that's all it takes. The people will jump on side once they see how crucial it is, and they fully hear it, understand it, and go, "Oh, I kind of understand now why we need mining."
Well, because you would have nothing.
There's nothing. Yeah.
Nothing.
And we want to do it here because we can do it responsibly.
Your Tupperware wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
Without resources. You'd have nothing in your house.
Nothing.
No medicine.
Nothing.
Food.
Yeah.
You would be bare. You would have no clothes. And you would be standing on the ground.
Just kind of going, great. Now I'm off grid. Well, Terri, this was a real pleasure. I know you've got a bunch of other meetings, which we'll be looking forward to hearing about soon as well. Real pleasure. I'm glad you were able to come on and give us some perspective to talk about what you like, what you see out there, and how you feel about the year ahead. And it's great to get to talk to people who've been on the ground. They've had different roles. They understand it from different angles, and to convey a message so well.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a lot of fun. Hopefully we can do it again soon.
Absolutely. Great. Well, enjoy the rest of your day and have a great weekend.
Thank you. I'm a little bit melting. I think my hair dropped significantly.
Okay.
I can turn the air conditioning on.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay. Bye, everyone. Enjoy your weekend.
Cheers.